Hello, I want to welcome all of our viewers today. Today is June 12th, 2020. My name is David Barker, and I'm here with Dr. Shana for Ask Dr. Shana. Dr. Shana, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, first I'm going to talk about the fact that I'm putting up fairly soon, meaning in a few days, a new website. And then I'm going to talk about adjusting to what we used to consider normal life before the coronavirus thing, and that there are perhaps some things we might choose to keep that as they are with the coronavirus concern. I'll explain what I mean when I get to that.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I am Mr. Barker, who just introduced me, is working on a new website, and the website name, in other words, the thing that you put into the computer to go there, is Dr. Dr. I finally don't have to do DOCTOR all the time. Shana, but spelt not as it is on my birth certificate or my passport, which is Shana, spelt this time Shahna, because I'm hoping that will make people pronounce it as Shana, and not without the second H. They say Shana or they say Shana. Shana is a Jewish name from Yiddish, and I would be absolutely delighted to have that as my name if I were Jewish. But the thing is, I'm not Jewish, I'm Irish, and Shana is a very old Gaelic Irish name. And so I want to have the name that belongs with my ethnicity. But for the website, I'm going to put that extra H in because it would make people think of pronouncing it as Shana. And changing the spelling of my name makes it possible for me to have a website that begins DR. We're skipping the period, folks, because a period in computerese is a dot and it may have other implications. So it's just DR SHAHNA.com.
Very good.
And I'm going to have not only past titles for Ask Dr. Shana, but I'm also going to introduce a blog page. In the contact me part, please, would you, if you have an idea of something that you'd like to hear on Ask Dr. Shana that you have not heard, please contact me on the contact me page. Now, I'm also going to publish my phone number, which is 585-730-0574. Again, 585, that's the area code for Rochester, New York, where I live, 730-0574. I would ask viewers to call me between 4:30 and 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, any day of the week. That's when I'm usually home and when my whatever I've been doing that day is usually finished. So 4:30 to 6:30 Eastern Time, but please do type in what kind of a topic you have thought of and you haven't seen and that you would like me to speak on. I am not going to give out my email address because I don't like email. A person can put in something in an email which they mean as a joke or as a little bit of sarcasm or little whatever, and the person receiving it may not realize this is a joke or sarcastic or something. Whereas when you hear the person's voice as when they're talking to you over the phone, you can pretty much guess that. Or if you're unsure, you may just ask. That's the wonderful thing about telephones, is that the hearer can immediately ask, or the caller can ask, without having to go take hours and days to type the response to the email and then the response to the question and so on. And I just don't, because of the difficulty of interpreting something, I don't like emails. That's why the only time I'm asking you to type something in is if you have an idea for an Ask Dr. Shana show. And I'm going to give you 10 lines to explain what you would like to hear about. It seems to me that's plenty. If you would like to speak to me directly, I've just told you my phone number, and I would like you not to call before 4:30, and not to call after 6:30. Okay, now for the second part of today's show. I've been thinking about businesses opening up and people going back to work, and that it may not be the best thing to just have everybody go back to the way we were doing things before coronavirus. For some, that may be the best choice, but for others, it may not. One of my ideas is, for example, it would be very nice if many families which have been everybody at home, or most of the people at home for quite a while, maybe we could conserve having dinner at home, because it would be very good for parents to keep abreast of who their teenagers and younger children are associating with. And it would be very good for the little kids to see and get to know their older siblings. Um, I, when I was working as a psychiatrist, I would be saddened by the number of young kids that told me they had, say, a 16-year-old brother and a 14-year-old sister, but they never saw them. So they didn't have a feeling that there were older kids in the family. And if the teenagers have, when it was coronavirus restrictions, have undertaken to watch their younger siblings for a short period of time because the younger kids, what they're doing during the day may be over and the parents aren't home yet. If it's a short period of time, it seems to me it would be a good thing to keep, because the older kids would learn how to handle little kids, which would be very useful because in a few years they might have kids of their own. And the younger kids, as I say, can have a real hands-on experience with their older siblings. So I think each family should look at the way it used to be and the way it is when we were under coronavirus restrictions and see if there's something worth keeping about the coronavirus period. And give this some serious consideration. Note that if both parents are home by, say, 6:30, the family could have dinner and be over by 7:30, and so then the kids, the teenagers, could still go out and have an evening, although I would say the teenagers have to be responsible for finishing their homework, including term papers or whatever, and also have to be responsible for not staying out late the night before a big exam.
Mm-hmm.
This is just prudence, and when they have the right to go out with their peers, it seems to me the responsibility towards schoolwork shifts to them. And I would support if teenagers have their grades start falling, or if they don't finish their homework, then they should be grounded for a while, at least until they get caught up, and possibly a little longer, or the curfew, the time they have to be back, should be changed. And this comes under the rubric, if you can't behave responsibly, then you will suffer consequences. And that should be explained to them when they are given the right to go out in the evening with peers. Explain it before it's a problem. And then if it does become a problem, you can say, well, you remember I explained all this to you beforehand? I also think that if there is a family member who is using drugs, let alone selling drugs. This could be a topic of a dinner conversation, and the other people in the family could appreciate how the older members of the family are trying to cope with this situation. So, generally speaking, I'm against having one child have a big secret from another child. Of course, it should be explained to the younger children that this is not something we discuss in school. Because you don't want to embarrass the drug user unduly. But, and there's no reason why a third or fourth grader should be spreading it around the whole third or fourth grade, the whole elementary school, that their older brother is using drugs. This will also teach the younger children the importance of keeping their mouth shut. Which is important for them to learn as a skill as adults. You can chitter chatter about a million things, but this particular item you don't mention. And if the source of the information does not mention it, it's very unlikely to become a subject of gossip. People should learn early on in life not to gossip. If they need to tell someone about something, for instance, the children need to tell the school social worker about being abused, that doesn't mean that they need to broadcast it from the rooftops. But I think in general, every family will have made perhaps different adjustments to the coronavirus requirements. But I think we should not just throw all those away. They've been in effect for maybe 5 or 6 months, and we've gotten used to them. And there are some things that are useful and perhaps should be kept. Okay, anybody who wants to offer a comment on what I've just said, all you'll have to do, the website will be up within a few days, and all you'll have to do is go onto the website and say, this is a comment about opening up and the end of the coronavirus period, and you're saying there's some things we should keep. And then you put your comment, and I will answer each person who comments. If I get several comments on going in the same direction, I may address that in the next Ask Dr. Clark show. So, that's it for today, and Please stay well. Don't try to get ahead of whatever your local restrictions are. I'm not very pleased with the number of people I see out on the street without a face mask, because the CDC has recommended that everybody wear face masks in public, which means outside of your own home. I hope you stay well, and my heart goes out to the people who have lost family members in the middle of this horrible pandemic. But I hope most of you will be listening next week, and we will have a topic which will get us back towards normal life. Okay, so goodbye, and as I say, anybody who's stayed well this long, for heaven's sakes, don't take risks and get sick with coronavirus now. That would be beyond tragic. So, hope you'll be listening next week. Bye-bye. Goodbye.